Hi there, my name is George and I design websites and mobile apps. A while back ago, I decided to record my entire process while working on a UI design project. I shared this video with a small local group of designers and I got a really good feedback for it. So today I'm sharing a new recording of another project of mine that you can see right there. I really hope that you can learn new things while checking out my work. This is why I also recorded the ideas, the thoughts, and my entire thinking process while working on a project like this. So let's jump in and show you how I made this site. Here is a preview of the final landing page. It's a full screen based layout, and this is the main slide, and you can scroll up or down or use the navigation on the left to scroll through the main sections of the landing page, which are just a few. So this is the second section, which is about the person behind this trip. Then you have the map with all the stops in different places in Thailand. Then when you click on the location, you can see more information about this place, some special experiences, and just additional information. When you scroll through all 5 stops, then you arrive at a slide for the journey itself, then some additional information, and at the end you reach the contact form. So this is the whole idea behind the landing page. I like to start my projects lo-fi, which usually means creating some really quick and dirty pencil sketches of the key screens or some key interactions. Basically, what I find difficult and challenging in a project, I usually try to sketch it out first. A pencil and a rubber is my preferred tool here, so I can quickly iterate and make some changes. Okay, and after the sketches and some more discussions with the client, we went to the wireframes phase, where I created the key screens from the whole website, from the whole landing page. So here I am starting from the wireframe. I used the elements that I had in the wireframe and just started to really work on the details, like inserting some graphics. Here I just screenshot a frame from the video just to use it as a background, gave it some overlay, and I'm just tweaking the sizes of the type now, the elements in the navigation on the left, doing some border work here. I wanted to add in a border to this design, so you can see that white border on the end. This will be also used as part of the UI later on. Right now on the left, this is the main navigation of the site. It's a single page website, but I still wanted to show the separate sections in the navigation. Right now I've created a second variation of this home slide. This is the first slide of the site. I wanted to put an accent on the current section, and then we have subsections here. So each part of this trip is just each destination is listed in the itinerary. So this is like a sub menu that will be opening up only when you're on this section of the site. And right now I'm downloading a vector of the world map, and I'm going to use only the map of the countries near Thailand, where this trip is actually taking place in. So this is the map. I have vector shapes of all the countries, and I'm just playing around with the colors and with the outlines, and I'm going to highlight the countries that this trip actually is going through, and all the locations and the cities. I already have this from the wireframes, so I'm going to be reusing it here. You can see that I'm also working in black and white so far. I wasn't sure still about the colors, so I usually prefer to start working in black and white and then adding in some color. This allows me to focus on the typography, the size of the elements, and worry about colors as the last thing. So I'm highlighting all the stops. Those are cities. And of course, marking the numbers on each stop from 1 to 5. So this is like the main itinerary page. And now I'm working on the hover effect on each stop. So my idea is when you hover on some of the locations, you get like a small preview, like photos from that location. So this is how I'll be creating the additional pop-ups. They'll be appearing on the right part of the page. Since this is like a full screen layout, I'll be positioning the elements across the borders of the screen, and this would of course scale proportionally to the browser window. This is the moment that I'm starting to work with the actual photos, the actual images, which quite honestly were really great for this project, since this is a trip which visits amazing hotels and locations. So I was really happy to be able to work with this kind of visuals. So I'm writing here the title of the hotel and the location. I'm arranging it with the image, making this kind of misaligned layout where we have an overlap between the text and the image. There are also some other elements that I plan to overlap like this with this effect. I think it looks modern and really fits in the theme of this site. Right now I'm experimenting with the background box behind the title. Like I said, I wanted to have this overlapping texts and shapes, so I put out the title outside of the box. So I made the box smaller and vertical. I think this makes it more unique and interesting. By the way, you can see that I'm working really quick in the document. I'm not paying too much attention to organizing the file at this point. Also, I'm still deciding on the visual styles and experimenting, so I'm not using a lot of symbols because I still want to have like raw elements and be able to experiment with them. But later on, I spent some time on making sure that I create symbols for all the elements that I reuse, take advantage of symbols in Sketch. So again, I'm working with real content. I'm creating some thumbnails for images right now, and I'm just screen grabbing the images from a file that the client sent over. first I start in black and white colors. All elements are in grayscale, but right now I want to add in an accent color, which is this pale yellow color. And you see that I'm putting it on certain elements to give accent. I'm not over reusing it on a lot of places on the page. And I'm continuing to add this color, this accent color, this yellow accent to the rest of the elements. And here you can see that I'm creating some symbols because I'll be reusing those. I got some type patterns that I'll be inspecting for interesting shapes, and I'll be using those shapes in my design. So I'm looking for some square elements probably to include in the navigation. As you can see, I'll play around with these for backgrounds or for small elements. I just include those elements in the navigation arrows. I think it puts a nice accent to it and gives this uniqueness to the elements. I want to use these elements on top, on the bottom, and then on the left and on the right to indicate different actions that you can take while browsing the content. I also included a similar element in the header, kind of like a symbol, like a decoration to the logo, making the title of this website look more like a logo, like a signage. So it has some decorations and it's a bit more special. Because I want to have several different shapes, so I'll be testing some of them. So you can see that I'm using only like a small fragment of the pattern, but I think it's really distinctive and it's simple enough to be used as an arrow. So I'm just grabbing some of the shapes and placing them on the interface to see how they might be used, and just make some visual tests. So I'll just drop them outside the artboards, the canvases, and have them there for reference. As you can see, I've started adding some dark blue. This is a color that the client referenced to, and I think it matches really nice. It replaces the black shapes that I started with. It's still dark, but it has just this slight tint of blue. This yellow color is similar to gold, so it's a classic combination between dark blue and gold. I'm replacing the navigation bullets with some rectangles that are rotated. Again, just tweaking those tiny details to make them match the rest of the shapes that I use. And I'm also replacing the circles with diamond shapes. So you can see that I'm using this motif of a diamond shape in most of the navigational items in this design. And I'm also placing those top and bottom navigation links, navigation arrows, again using the diamond shape. I've added some strokes to those elements to make them stand out more. And here you can see that when hovering one of those diamond shapes with the numbers, it's activating a hover effect, and the rest of the items are treated with this ghost effect, like only with outlines. So now I'm moving on to the location detail page. This will be the information for each different hotel, each of the stops on the trip. And I'm just applying some colors to it, playing around with some soft shadows, some soft effects. I'm slightly adjusting the typography and adding in those navigation diamonds here. So scrolling to the right will actually reveal more details about this location. And scrolling down or clicking on the diamond on the bottom center, you go to the next stop, the next hotel. I'm trying to experiment with different positions for the thumbnails and the navigation items because there's a slight overlap there. So I try to solve it by rearranging the elements. And now I just duplicated this detailed page, and I'm going to quickly see how I can create the next slide for the content about each hotel. There will be a couple of different slides with content, and this is the second one. So if we have 5 locations, each location will have like 3 or 4 slides in the details page. And since this content will be different for each slide, I'll have to adjust the elements and the layout, keeping most of the elements the same, but just changing the proportions. And now I'm duplicating some of the pages and laying out the content for the next location. I'll switch the color coding, and I can test how the design will actually change when the content is slightly different. You always have to test several steps, several parts of the content, even if they use the same template. So I'll take some images that the client provided and apply them to the containers. So I'm really getting closer to the final layout of most of the elements, as you see them on the live site if you opened it right now. You can see that I also made a couple of revisions on the diamonds at the bottom and on the left and on the right part of the screen. it would have saved me a lot of time if I made those navigational elements as symbols. I think I only did so with the header of the page. It is a symbol, but yeah, in terms of optimization of the workflow and the file, there a lot of improvements can be made by using components and symbols in Sketch. But since this is a small website that won't get updated that frequently or at all, actually, it would basically stay as it is, so it doesn't justify to spend a lot of time on optimizing the file, since it won't be used that much. You can see that I even haven't organized my groups that much. I just have grouped elements, but I haven't named them. I named only the artboards. So I'm taking some images that will be used as backgrounds. So yeah, I found an image frame from the video that I really like. So I'll just use this to mock up the page. And yeah, as I mentioned, some block articles here. Again, I'm reusing the elements that I have on another page, and I'll just customize them so that they fit on this one. Yeah, at the end, this page didn't look like this at all, and I'm glad that it turned out this way. But of course, during the design process, there's some parts of your deliverables that they don't present the best solution or won't function good. So it's good to discuss those and decide if they can be improved. And in this case, we improved the overall structure of the content. But yeah, you can see how I'm adjusting the look and feel of the elements, playing around with the titles, the fonts, the colors. So now that I have most of the pages, I'm going back and creating some additional states of the more interactive elements. For example, trying out the different hover effects, how they will look with the different colors from my color coding approach. And now that I have all these initial pages, I'll be updating them up. I will be uploading them to InVision. I'm using the Craft Sync plugin so that you can sync right from Sketch into InVision. So after we have those designs approved, it's good to create the layout for all the rest of the hotels. You have to show visually how each and every hotel page is going to look like. So I'm just taking some content from a PDF that I have. I'm checking all the facts, the days, even if it's not exactly right, at least it's really close by the final content. Okay, so now you see how I am just completing the designs by inserting content. This content, I'm getting it from emails, from Drive folders, so I'm constantly switching between different sources of information that are provided by the client, and I'm inserting all of these texts and images into the designs. And right now we're already in InVision with all my screens. depending on the length of the content, you usually have to adjust. But in general, I'm looking for layouts that can accommodate different types of content, of text and images, both long and short, but still there are some limits. So you have to think about edge cases all the time. Like if the text is really long, or if the images are not horizontal but vertical, for example, this might cause your layout to change or not to be able to adapt to the content. So you can see that I'm using this diamond shape on a lot of the bullets. I'm reusing it here. I'm trying even to use it for some arrows. This became just too much. Like 3 levels of navigation is usually a sign that you might want to try to rethink the whole architecture of the information. So probably you'll see an improvement when we get more to the end of this recording. I think at this point I'm almost done with the layout, but we're still going through some revisions with the client. Basically editing the content and improving some of the elements. For example, this element with the name of the trip and the price and the call to actions. This is something that I decided finally to put in a block, in a box, to give it more order and structure. And now I'm working on some hover effects for the navigation on top and on the bottom, the main navigation, which basically takes you forward and back or up and down the whole site. I'm creating a list of some highlights for the whole trip. So you have the trip locations on the left, and on the right you have some highlights for the whole trip. So each highlight has an image and some description similar to a title. And I think this was the first proposal of the design for this element, and you see me working on an update in a few minutes. Right now I'm still playing with this navigation. I made a lot of tries to make it as seamless as possible and as simple as possible. So you can see how I'm reworking the image gallery, the thumbnails, so that the thumbnails will be used as a navigation instead of having to use arrows. So you will use the thumbnails, the small images, to navigate and switch images. I just did the hovering effects for the left and right navigation. This gradient that's overlaying when you hover over the element, so that it's bigger and you understand that the whole element is interactive. I'm making previews for different types of content for each image. So in this gallery you have a couple of images, and all of them will accommodate different kind of text. One of them has like this long title, only a sentence, like a quote from the architect, and then the others have, like, for example, a title and some more sentences as a paragraph, so we have to accommodate that as well. You can see that the final slide was now changed to what you can finally see on the website. It's much more simple and clean with less content. And now I'm reworking the experiences in Slider because the client didn't like the boxed version. So I decided to go with less content to make it less crowded and only have a single image opened. This way you have only a couple of titles and only one single image, so it will be more clean and more simple. And of course this will be like an automatic slider which will switch slides, toggle between slides in a couple of seconds. So every couple of seconds you see the next slide opening. So yeah, I'm trying different arrangements and alignments. Should it be on the left? Should it be on the right? But I think I finally decided to go with the left alignment. And I'll be making some experiments on how the rest of the tabs will be, the rest of the slides will look if open. So I just made two, like the first one and like the last one or something like that, just to test how it will work and to explain it to the developers, of course, who are coding this. And now you can see that I'm going through InVision, looking at some comments from the client, adding in some more content. So yeah, this is how the final phases of the design are done. Usually you try to fit in all the latest content, which of course creates need for more changes and updates. And I think we're getting to the end of the video because the design is almost done now. Just putting in the final touches. The next thing that I did from here was to work with the developers who coded the site and tested it constantly until it actually worked as planned. You can check out the final website. And we also worked on a mobile version. After we launched the desktop version, we quickly did a mobile adaptation of the design again. I don't have a recording for that, unfortunately. But the idea was to show how I went through everything in the desktop version and what was the process. This whole video was actually around 8 or 9 hours of design work. And finishing off the design phase, we also created the mobile version, which is used as a reference to the developers on how to adapt the whole landing page when opened on a mobile phone. You can see all the same screens here reimagined in a mobile view. Usually you do this right after the design for the desktop version is completed, so that you don't have to work on two resolutions if you're still making any changes to the design. Hey, so what you saw in this video was about 10 hours of actual UI design work. I would really love to know if this was helpful to you, so just let me know in the comments below. Thank you and see you next time.